Mail everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I was just talking to Mrs. Cat. Apparently I didn't know that ketchup was actually made of tomato, and I was called an idiot for it. So I apparently have a lack of knowledge about the world, so be careful about listening to my charts. I could be completely off base, just like I didn't know that tomato is in ketchup, so be careful. But this is a Bitcoin chart on the weekly here. I don't really see any reason to be bearish. You have a very, very nice bullish crossover here on the wave trend oscillator. Whales predominant, greater than 80%. You don't really have much retail over here on the MCDX Plus. And if you're also looking at a bunch of other indicators here, including the Ichimoku, you can see that it's above these lines over here, above the Tenkan, above the Kijun, actually bounced from the Kijun very, very strongly. And it got a little bit closer to the Tenkan here, didn't really quite touch it. But looks like really bouncing back above support. And if you also look at the Super Ichi cloud, the super trend is still intact. And right now, price is also above the cloud, above the Tenkan, and above the Kijun here on the Super Ichi cloud. If you look at the bull market support band, is above the bull market support band again. It broke back above and it back tested it. Looks like it's able to hold. And if you also look at a Bollinger Band, look very, very squeezy, and right now price is on the top part of the Bollinger Band, which tells me that whenever a big move is to come, it's probably going to come within the next few weeks, is going to be pretty explosive. It's going to get squeezy, and it's going to expandy. When it expandy, depending on which way it's going to be, if it tends to be on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, it tends to want to squeeze up. The lower part tends to want to squeeze down. I mean, of course, there are some correction, some exceptions over here. Sometimes the squeeze, it kind of went down a little bit, but then bounced. Over here, I wonder if we are kind of seeing a very similar thing here. Get a little bit squeezy here, it went down, and then it looks like it wants to bounce. But it might take a few weeks to kind of shake things off before its bullish continuation. A lot of things are telling me that there's probably going to be a bullish continuation here. Just looking at the 20, 50, and 100 week simple moving average is stacked on the bullish side. They're very, very well separated. This is a very strong bull trend. The last time we see a bull trend, actually this bull trend just developed probably around like November, December 2023. The last time a strong bull trend like that is to develop, and all three moving average stacked the right way, was around July of 2020. Next thing you know, you had a big giant run up. And the last time before that, when you start having all of these moving averages stacked together at the same time, is around May of 2016. And I don't have to tell you what happened after May 2016, all the way through December 2017. And right now we're having some very, very similar look to it. That's also another thing that makes me more bullish about it. Look at the monthly chart. I mean, if you just pull up the monthly, and if you look at the Ichimoku also looked like it just bounced from the rising Tenkan blue line over here as support. This whole look right here looks a little bit more like a fractal like this over here, doesn't it? You have the Tenkan rising up, and price just simply kind of goes sideways until Tenkan is able to rise up. Price goes sideways until Tenkan is going to rise up, simply correcting sideways because we had a monster move all the way from like 25,000 all the way up to 72,000, and that's just a little bit unsustainable. We needed to cool down, went sideways, but guess what happened when we went sideways? The whales never left here on the monthly. They're still very much in it. Looking at the Super Ichi cloud, you also can see that really price has a hard time breaking down underneath the Tenkan. It looks like Tenkan has served as a very, very good support, which is generally what happens during a bull market. So far, so good, right? Looking at the Bollinger Band, I don't think that the cycle has really started yet, because looking at the previous cycles, they usually have this thing going on where the Bollinger Band starts to expand a little bit and then goes sideways. So you have a little bit of initial contraction before price really go parabolic and really drag out the whole Bollinger Band down and up, down all the way down to like the negatives. And that's when you really have explosive move for Bitcoin happening, right? And then the last cycle, same thing. You have the initial contraction when price just kind of went sideways over here for about a whole year. And then when things kept going, they just kept going. I mean, it just went pretty parabolic after that. And the Bollinger Band got expanded, and both upwise and downwise. Currently, we are having a little bit of a sideways here. So initially you have an expansion, but now you're having a little bit of contraction, similar to here, a little bit of initial contraction here, potentially before Bollinger Band continue to actually fully expand. Right now, there's no reason to believe that's not going to happen because the whales are in. So I am pretty excited about this. Just going back to the weekly here, a couple other indicators to look at. There's something called the Pi cycle indicator that has worked out pretty well there in the last cycle. Where are ya? Shark Tank, Pi cycle prediction. Wherever these two lines cross, which is cross over here around April 2021, that's when I guess they call it the top over here. I mean, obviously we made a little slight higher high here, but that technically, I think that based on a lot of things, I think this may be actually just a little bit of a truncated wave 5, but this right here might have been the actual top for Bitcoin, which is around April 2021. We're quite far away from having that happening. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen. Right now it's estimating maybe around like April of 2025, but these things changes, right? So the Pi cycle indicator is still telling me that no, we're not anywhere near the top quite just yet. If you look at the MVRVZ score, usually you get a little bit toppy whenever the MVRVZ gets to above like 6 or 7. That's when you're really looking at a little bit more toppy here. We're far from that. Right now it's like a 2. So there are a lot of real indicators that are telling us that we're still pretty far away from having a Bitcoin top. And also you just go back to the monthly here, and I'm going to show you the RSI, the infamous RSI trend line. Where are ya? The infamous RSI trend line, which goes from over here, goes all the way down to over here. Again, it's not a perfect trend line, but it's touching enough points. So theoretically, you believe that this trend line exists, you believe that this is what Bitcoin generally does, it would probably hit the top right here whenever things get really truly parabolic, which can hit like 89 to 90 RSI on the monthly, and that's not really anything that is surprising for Bitcoin if it ends up doing that. If it ends up touching 90 and ends up coming back down and do another double tap like it did over here, the cycle, or over here, the cycle, there's a potential for price to even go a lot higher on the double tap. You see like the first tap over here and then a double tap over here, the first tap over here and a double tap over there, right? So we'll see. There's still, over here it didn't really quite do the double tap, but even then it made a higher high. So yeah, so a lot of things are telling me Bitcoin hasn't really quite topped quite just yet. Plus, I still think, even though this week has not been like super bullish, I still think that this last week's Marabolsu candle probably means something, where there's not really a whole lot of wick above or below. It just looks like it wants to do like a very, very bullish trend continuation up. These things doesn't always end up being just the next move just going to be keep on up, right? Like over here you have a relatively Marabolsu type candle. Over here too, maybe, although you have a little bit more wick over here and there. And sure enough, sometimes you just have to cool down and go sideways here a little bit. So not all Marabolsu candles should end up having a bullish candle happening right after that. But I do think that this signals a bull trend coming. Like there's a lot of buying pressure over here. I actually do think that means something. So we will see. I am going to pull up a couple other indicators over here. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at what I want to look at with you, which is to look at a lot of crypto-related stocks, or specifically Bitcoin-related stocks. You remember I was telling you about Bitcoin had a bullish cross over here on the weekly trend wave oscillator, and that's bullish, right? MSTR looks the same, except it looks even a little bit more bullish. It looks like it wants to just keep going higher, and you have the whales to support it, you have the wave trend to support it, you have, again, it's just very similar things as Bitcoin, bounce up from a rising Tenkan on the weekly and the monthly, right? Because of that, I think most likely going to have some pretty decent bullish continuation. Above all these different support, super itchy, you have a little bit bearish cross over here, but it looks like it wants to cross back bullish over here. And you are using these Tenkan Kijun over here to use as support to potentially push price a lot higher. You look at the Bulma support band is above of that. Looking at the Bollinger Band is squeezing just like Bitcoin. This is behaving just like a leverage play for Bitcoin. Now, if you ask me whether or not it's outperforming Bitcoin, the answer is yes. If you look at the MSTR over Bitcoin chart, ever since May of 2022, it's been outperforming Bitcoin. And right now, it doesn't look like it wants to stop outperforming Bitcoin anytime soon. So to me, I think it's still maybe like early mid-cycle, maybe more towards mid-cycle if I have to choose. But right now, I still don't think that we're really that far along the cycle quite just yet. This consolidation has been absolutely brutal for a lot of people, especially when price went up to like 2,000 and went back down to like 1,000. I mean, that's a pretty brutal 50% move just right there. But to me, it's just consolidation. This is a leverage play of Bitcoin. This is no big deal. Things are pointing positive. Whenever things fall positive, whenever things start to keep going. And I think things are going to keep going pretty soon because you have a squeezy where the next few weeks probably going to end up being a big move. If I had to bet what the big move is going to be, I think it's going to be up. If you look at the GAN that I have here, you can see that during a bull cycle, it just basically just break arc after arc after arc and just keeps going up. And then during a bear cycle, it backtests a lot of these arcs down here. And then eventually is able to backtest enough that it started going back up again and break through a lot of these arcs, right? So if I would break them through 1 and 2 sets of arcs over here, we go back to the third arc set over here. And right now we're just maybe a little bit overextended. We're kind of back testing it down here a little bit. Looks like we passed this back test. And it looks like it wants to potentially go up higher. I'm going to do a rough Fibonacci level here from this level all the way down to this level over here to kind of give me a rough guide. This is not going to be exact Fibonacci, so excuse me. But it's going to have a lot of confluence lines here that you would see. I think once it you're hitting a pretty strong resistance zone over here, like the top of the arc, the Fibonacci level 1.618, which price roughly got rejected from, and then also another horizontal line up here around 2,300. If you're able to break above all of this plus the angle over here, then you were talking about potentially like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 6,700, potentially during this cycle. Matt was talking about like, the Great Matsby was talking about like 20,000. I don't know, man. That's like breaking 2 marks. I don't know. If it does, then that'd be great. That means that Bitcoin and also other Bitcoin derivatives are doing very well. But that's kind of how I'm seeing it. We're right at resistance. We're still needing some time to kind of push for resistance, although we've kind of worked out a lot of energy over here for the last few months. So I wonder whether or not there's going to be a potential big move soon. The wave trend oscillator seems to hint that that's a possibility. Right. Coinbase. Man, Coinbase has been brutal this week, right? Last week was looking super bullish. This week's looking super bearish. Not really. I mean, like if you consider trends, not really. Looking at the weekly Ichimoku, it did kind of break down underneath the Tenkan here a little bit, but the Tenkan is rising. I don't think the Tenkan is going to serve as very strong resistance at all. I think most likely it's going to end up either wicking down and then closing by Friday back above 240.13, or maybe the next week we just end up getting back above. I just feel that this is wanting to push up higher, and the wave trend oscillator over here is also telling me that that's probably the case. And the whales are still in on the weekly, like greater than 85% whales over here. So there's still a lot of bullish momentum that's being built up from the whale side. A lot of very positive thing going on. Super Ichi, what is the Super Ichi showing you? Probably just kind of came back down and back tested the Tenkan here on the Super Ichi cloud here again. Looking at the Boma support band, it's kind of back testing the Boma support band. Looking at Bollinger Band here, looks squeeze just like Bitcoin, just like MSTR. And so a lot of good things are going forward, but this week has just been, pretty bad correction. I guess we're not quite ready yet this month, Sometimes these things happen. But I do think that if you look at the monthly, there is a reason, I think, why Coinbase is having a hard time breaking out, because it's still a little bit too far from the Tenkan. Let's see, I think over the next month or so, Tenkan is going to shoot up. The reason why I know is because it's currently counting this candle over here, but the next month is no longer going to count this candle, so it's not going to average the bottom price over here. It's going to average this price over here. So if you're talking about the top right there around 290, the bottom price over here around 116. Gosh, I hate to do math. So together it would probably be around 400 divided by 2, so it's going to be around 200. The Tenkan is going to be around 200, and that's going to make Coinbase going to have a lot more room to go up because it's no longer too far overextended. Nice bullish cross. I'm not too worried about the monthly wave trend. It's just been going sideways, so it's just been consolidating. I'm not too worried about that. Going back to the weekly chart, I don't think it necessarily has to touch the cloud. I think it might be relatively ready to go. if you look at a Coinbase over Bitcoin chart, it does look like it wants to come back to, back test the Ichimoku cloud here. You are experiencing a little bit of bearish crossover here, so hey, maybe Coinbase is not ready, but sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot to just reverse this bearish cross, so you just keep going up, kind of like how it did over here. Like these bear cross doesn't necessarily mean that, it has to just plummet down, but we're starting to lose a little bit of momentum. It better pick up, maybe back test the cloud up here and going back up, and then Coinbase can continue to outperform Bitcoin. It has been outperforming Bitcoin ever since May of 2023, for the most part, making higher highs and higher lows. So I'm still pretty bullish on Coinbase in general. If you look at the 2 week, it's going to tell you a lot better picture in terms of what it's doing. It's just basically pushed through the Ichimoku cloud, back tested on low volume, bam, bam. It looks like it wants to balance, but so far it got rejected here at the Tenkan. Probably just temporary. I think price wants to break out probably next month. Let me see. If you look at 2 week, 2 weeks shows you a little bit of a different picture, right? 2 weeks looks like it wants to bounce higher. The 2 weeks telling us that maybe these 2 week candles over here is consolidating enough, and that you might have a trend change and that things might move up higher from here on out. Right. Robinhood, what is Robinhood doing? Just back testing the 2 week Tenkan over here. Although you are losing a little bit of momentum over here, but again, things can change in a hurry. If you are looking at the wellish momentum, it's still there for Robinhood. There's not really any retailing on 2 weeks. On the weekly chart, very, very minor retail over here. You have a little bit of a bearish cross over here on a wave trend oscillator, so who knows? I've always thought that maybe Robinhood would come back and test like lower, but currently you have a candle that came down back to like 20.6. I think that's low enough. I don't think it has to go any lower than that, but I did think that it needed to come down here and touch some of the levels, maybe like back test some of these levels over here. Kind of did that a little bit, but I just think that because of price kind of going up on bearish diversions over here, with the trend oscillator trend going down, price going up, this whole thing over here looked a little bit exhausted. I did think that probably eventually it's going to either go sideways for longer, or it's going to come back down and test like maybe like 20 and a half, and certainly end up doing that. Could it go lower? Potentially. It would not surprise me if it ended up going to 20 or 19 and a half. Do I think it's going to go lower than that? Probably not. I think Robinhood's gone sideways long enough. The only thing that scares me really is the monthly chart of Robinhood. Why it scares me doesn't really scare me per se, but I just think price is a little bit overextended from the Tenkan and Kijun. So to me, I still think that Robinhood is a hold. I wouldn't buy based on this. But if you also are looking at not just the Ichimoku cloud, but you also look at the Bollinger Band here on the monthly, you can see that things are not as overextended anymore. You have the month of July where price actually looking like it might end up closing inside the Bollinger Band, which is actually not a bad thing. Trend is still up on the wave trend oscillator. So you are actually doing what you're supposed to be doing. On the weekly here, looking at Bollinger Band, it looks a little bit more, tighter. And it looks like we're simply just kind of getting close to the our support band. That's why I'm saying, like, it would not surprise me a little bit if price cut them down a little bit further, or even break underneath, have a little false breakdown on the Bollinger support band before going up. I would not be surprised at all, but I would say like 20 or 19 are probably going to be like the lowest that it goes based on what I see. I mean, obviously I just put my SL out there, so if it goes down lower, I'm sorry, okay? But I'm just telling you what I'm seeing currently. Things can change, but to me, if I was going to buy more, which I'm not because I already have a position I'm happy about, if I was going to buy more, I might end up buying around like the 19-20 range. But buying right here at the wick of this candle today, at like 20.6 is probably not a bad buy, to be completely honest. So that's kind of Robinhood there. Oh, I forgot to show the CAN for Coinbase. Just go back to the CAN here real quick. Price just having a hard time breaking above a very important Fibonacci level at the golden ratio is 0.618, around 277. And whenever price breaks above that, I think, again, I said that before, I think it can go up to like 400 or 500 here, in a hurry if it's able to do that. And that's Coinbase. Robinhood, a little bit of a different story, hitting some pretty strong resistance up here as well at the 0.5 fit level, halfway point. This is actually a little bit of a lock here. This is a lock Fibonacci level, so not exactly halfway point, but 0.5 Fibonacci level on the lock. Resistance, clear as sky, right? come back down, maybe getting a little bit closer to the horizontal zone over here around like 20.2, 20.6 is probably as close as it gets. It doesn't always have to come down. Sometimes people front run you and they just keep on pushing up. But resistance is right above over here. You know, you got three very important resistance up here. One is you have to break through the 0.5, which you got rejected here twice. Second, you have to break through this arc over here, which is yet to do. And the third is there's also potentially a bigger resistance here around $32 at 0.618. Where do I think the cycle might end up being? Well, it depends on what Robinhood ends up doing in terms of these resistance. If it doesn't break above these resistance, and that's it, you know. If it does break through, it might talk about some of the arcs up here. You can talk about maybe like the 40s. You can talk about maybe like the 70s and 80s. You know, it's entirely possible. I think this bearish divergence has been being worked out right now. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for Robinhood. Robinhood over Bitcoin. Initially, it was outperforming Bitcoin a lot. You know, from November 2023 all the way up to earlier this month. It looks like it just wants to beast against Bitcoin, but nope, Bitcoin caught up over the last 3 weeks against Robinhood, and so far Robinhood has just been plummeting against Bitcoin for 3 weeks in a row. But that's okay. You know, it's just basically forming a high-low. That's all it is. So Robinhood overall, it still looks like it's trending a little bit better than Bitcoin since November of last year. And but so far, you know, I still think that the chart itself is looking like it's working through some bearish stuff. And how it's stacking against Bitcoin, I think is completely reasonable. I think it's probably going to end up finding some support over here with this Robinhood over Bitcoin ratio. It's probably going to end up pushing up a lot higher. CleanSpark has been traumatizing y'all, hasn't it? What the heck is this? This is what I call a trader's paradise. Oof, oh my god. Okay. Ichimoku Cloud, stuck between the Tenkan and the Kijun. Last week we broke above the Tenkan here. It was a false breakout. I really like to see 2 consecutive weeks closing above the Tenkan, the blue line over here, before I can say that this has really truly broken out. But guess what Price did today? Price tried to get underneath the Kijun over here. The Kijun is the red line, and it's not able to. And today's weekly candle, I mean, this weekly candle is not going to close. It's not going to actually print until the end of tomorrow, but it bounced. Well, it stopped almost right there. It's like 16.18 is where we close, and the Kijun line over here is 16.18. It's pointing up, so it's basically going to serve as pretty decent support. And also, if you look at the CleanSpark weekly trend wave trend oscillator, it's been trending down for so long now while it was going sideways. It's actually pointing up now. So I think that we're seeing some uptrend that might be coming soon. Although this week has been, unfortunately, not much whalish momentum going on. But you still have close to 50% whales. You still have close to 50% whales. That's all I can say is range bound, looking like it wants to break above, looking like it's finding some really good support here. But I really like to see 2 consecutive candles above the blue line over here. Currently the blue line is at 17.44. It looks like it just wants to keep trying, but it just keeps on getting rejecting. But that's okay. Bull in Japan, initially we were above of the 20 week, now we're back below. We're still inside the bull market support band though, so I don't think things has really necessarily broken down quite just yet. And the bull in Japan is squeezy. It's getting squeezier and squeezier. Next month's probably going to end up getting, we'll start next week, and next month's probably going to get even squeezier. So far, I cannot be that bearish on this chart. Looking at the monthly, it's just been going sideways for about 6 months. The wave trend oscillator has been pointing down. Whale's been cooling off. Retail's also been cooling off. You just have a lot of traders over here trading the range for a very long time. And what you're really seeing here is not that big of a deal. But what I do want to show, and I've shown you many times before, on the Ichimoku cloud, is still stuck in a range. It needs to break above and close above, currently around 17.82 to get back inside the cloud. So far it's spent about 6 months trying to do so and unable to do so. But if you look at the Super Ichi cloud, which takes into consideration of the super trend, It has gotten inside the cloud. It's just simply going sideways. And the bottom of this Super Ichi cloud here is around 14.02. So wait, no, that cannot be right. It's around 15.97. So it's still a little bit far away from where price is currently at. And I would like to see if it stays inside of Super Ichi cloud for the month of July. That would, to me, I think that would be a pretty decent development here. But yeah, this is CleanSpark here. Looking at the 2-week Ichimoku, high volume breakout, and so far it's just been ranging sideways. It's been trying to break above the blue line over here too, around 19.21, just been having a hard time doing it. But it's no big deal. I really do think that the key for this week is if we can close above the kitchen, the red line over here, and I think it is going to because it's up pointing. And if we can keep the trend wave oscillator to keep pointing up, I think you have a chance for something pretty decent moving forward. Let's pull up my Gangan. My Gangan is here. Not much to show you here on my Gan. Basically, it's just still stuck in a range, just stuck in this arc over here. It's still oscillating around the 0.382 Fibonacci level. You still have a lot of resistance up above in the 20s, and once you're breaking above, I think like 28 or so, 28, 29, then you're talking about potentially something going crazy, like around like 60s and 70s up here, which is basically very similar to what I think might end up doing with the Ichimoku cloud. It is able to break above the cloud. It might go up here in a hurry and might actually end up hitting the top part of the cloud, or 1.618 here over the next 6 to 12 months. I think it's possible, since we've been consolidating sideways here for a while, and since we had a bullish cross, since the next logical move is going to be a bullish continuation, that might be what's happening. Now you ask me what the cycle top's going to be. I don't know. Let's break about these resistance here first. But if we're not able to break above this resistance, then down we go, right? But if we're able to break above, then you're talking about 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, 110, and then the next level is going to be like 150. That might be the cycle top. Of course, you have higher levels up here around like 800, but I don't think so. Okay, maybe like 150. I would imagine, potentially. CleanSpark over Bitcoin's just been doing nothing over the last few months. Just been doing nothing, just like what CleanSpark is doing. It's doing nothing, just like what Bitcoin's been doing. Bitcoin's doing nothing. So you're not really having any trend per se, but you are potentially seeing a little bit of a trend change here on the wave trend oscillator with the CleanSpark over Bitcoin chart. Mara on the monthly. On the monthly, Mara actually looks really decent. You know why I say that? Because on the monthly, actually had a bullish cross over here. On the monthly, you have price currently still stuck inside this range. Oh my God, where is it going to break above this range here? Price is still stuck inside this range here. We have a few more days before the monthly candle closes, but positive with the trend, positive with the whales, positive with reducing retail. A lot of very positive things here being developed here for Mara, and I actually think that there. I'm also want to say maybe Mara does have a little bit more of a bullish look to it. So far, you do have a bearish engulfing candle. I don't want you to get scared by bearish engulfing candles. They don't always have to work out, but it's just something that you might want to be a little bit more cautious about. But I think that this bearish engulfing candle, I'm not sure if it's going to end up closing and not be bearish engulfing. It's already Thursday, unless if price closed about 22 or something like that. It's probably going to be bearish engulfing, but I'm okay with it. Whales momentum getting lost here in a short time frame, but the whale trend oscillator is still pointing up, and I still think overall is still considered to be a relatively bullish chart. It's still above the cloud, just basically back testing the cloud here a little bit. When things are above the cloud, I lean bullish. That's all there is to it. But when I support band, it can basically just came back down and basically back tested boring support band right there. It looks like it bounced. Sorry, I gotta stay hydrated here. Bollinger Band, squeezy, just like CleanSpark, squeezy. Mara, squeezy. MSTR, squeezy. Coinbase, squeezy. Robinhood, not as squeezy, but relatively squeezy. Mara's getting pretty squeezy. Similarly got rejected at the upper Bollinger Band, come back down, back tested below support band, so far finding support there. It's still a bullish chart, guys. I don't have anything else to really say about it. Looking at the GAN that I have here, it's just simply got rejected from the arc over here and kind of come back and back test this very important 20 level over here that's been ongoing for 3-4 years now. You're gonna touch 20 again. After you break out of this arc, where's it gonna go? Is it gonna go to 78, 50, or 50? Yeah. If it breaks about 50, where is it gonna go? 180, 220, 280. Is it gonna go all the way up here to 580? I doubt it. Let's break one resistance level at a time. Let's just go ahead and break the current level first, and then we'll talk more, right? Putting back the Fibonacci level here, roughly, this is not exact, but roughly. What other resistance levels are up above? Well, 33.5, where it got rejected over here, right? And then you have 42, you have 52, these might be resistance levels. When you're able to break above 33, 42, 52, I really think that it might gravitate towards the 1.618, around 130. And then after that, maybe up a lot higher, maybe to the top part of this arc here, maybe the 200s. No guarantees, right? No guarantees. But I'm still pretty bullish on this chart, even though Mara keeps on just breaking all of these support levels here. But I still love you, Mara. I still love you. You're still looking bullish to me. I cannot say no to this trend wave oscillator. I cannot say no to the monthly trend oscillator here too. I cannot say no to the Welsh momentum that's still happening. And I cannot say no when things are just simply trying to break above the arc here. So that is Mara over Bitcoin. What is it doing? Nothing. It's just oscillating sideways. It's not outperforming Bitcoin. It's not underperforming Bitcoin. It's just oscillating sideways. But could it mean that Mara is going to end up outperforming Bitcoin here in a little bit? Potentially, right? Potentially. Bitfarms. Bitfarms is a smaller Mara. This has the same chart as Mara. On the monthly, it looks the same as Mara. It looks the same as Mara. On the Ichimoku cloud, it actually looks a little bit more bullish because price is currently above the monthly Tenkan when Mara is actually broken underneath of it. Right? So Bitfarm actually looks a bit more bullish. It also looks like there's more Welsh momentum going on here for Bitfarms. If you look at a weekly chart, you can also see that simply just gotten a little bit closer to the Ichimoku cloud here again. Could it touch it over the next week or two before bouncing up further? Maybe. You do have, in the short term, a little bit of a loss of Welsh momentum. In the short term, you do have a little bit of a loss of Welsh momentum here on the trend oscillator here as well. But overall, it's still looking pretty decent because it's above the cloud, it's bouncing. And this whole move over here sideways so far, not on a whole lot of volume. You know, I just want to see some volume kind of here to come in for some bullish continuation. But so far I don't have a whole lot to add. This just looks very, very similar. Squeezy just like Mara, not as squeezy, but still squeezy about the boomerang support band. And if you look at the GAN is also basically saying that, and also together with the Fibonacci level, broke above, bounced at the GAN, broke back above, bounced at the Fibonacci level, found support, right? The wave trend's still positive, so Bitfarm's still positive. How's Bitfarm stacking against Bitcoin? Well, it's got a little bit of a loss of momentum over here. Is it going to end up crossing back over and going up? Who knows? But it's a little bit underperformed over the last few weeks. No big deal. CIFR. You remember what I mentioned to you guys? On the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, it hit resistance up here around $7.8 to $8 almost perfectly. You remember what I was saying that price could potentially come back and gravitate towards? I would not be surprised if it ends up coming back down to 5.5 because that's where we had a lot of points touch over here throughout the entire year of 2023 to early 2024. You have a breakout and backtest, right? Got rejected into the Ichimoku cloud. We have a lot of history over here, and the volume shelf is also there too. I'm not going to show it, but you have a lot of history over here. You got rejected. You just don't expect to just push through the first time. If it's able to push through that, then it goes to like $10 in hurt, right? But it didn't end up doing that because it can't get too far away from the Bollinger Band. Like, are you crazy? Like, you just can't defy physics and just push above the Bollinger Band and just keep going. Like, that's just not how it works, right? Trending oscillator is still pointing up. Bollinger Band is still pointing up. Looks like it wants to expand. Looks like it wants to push price up higher. And it looks like we're just simply coming back and back test 5.5 level. I did thought of a potential scenario where it might have found support over here around 5.78 at the Tenkan. It didn't. It broke through. There's also another scenario where it can end up touching the 5.2 level over here around the Kijun. It hasn't yet. It looks like it bounced right around the 5.5 level, which is, again, a very, very important level. Right? Still a very bullish chart. It looks like it just broke out. Like, it cannot be bearish on CIFR. On the monthly chart, again, very, very nice bullish cross. Above Tenkan, above Kijun. Looks like it wants to do some bullish continuation over time, but just simply hasn't had the time yet. Pulling up the Bollinger Band here. I mean, again, things got a little bit too far, too heated away from the monthly upper Bollinger Band, and it just simply had to cool down. No big deal, right? Now, CIFR, let me see here. Yeah, so on the weekly, it looks ready, but it still needs to expand. Let's see if I see anything on the Super Ichi. I guess it can potentially come back down here around like the 5.2 range. There's a lot of confluence down here. I would not be surprised if it comes back down, but I would not be surprised if it just keeps running up higher either. I think like in April, I have like a top 5 buys, and CIFR under $5 was one of my calls. And I made that, I think, around April, and I'm just kind of buying over here. I have a position in CIFR. I'm very happy with it. And I think there's a lot of potential. Interesting chart for the CIFR over Bitcoin chart. If you do the ratio, it looks like things want to break out, but it just got rejected here at the Super Ichi cloud. Does it look like it wants to break inside the cloud? Yes, it does. Maybe through time. And when it does, CIFR might outperform Bitcoin. Just something to think about. Let me see if I see the same thing here on the Ichimoku cloud. I do. It looks like it wants to break above, but it's simply just getting rejected here so far. I think it will, though. Give it time. IREN. Big down day today. What happened? I was showing you that the train wave oscillator here, IREN was not looking bullish, unlike all the other charts. MSTR, bullish. Coinbase, bullish. Robinhood, yeah, a little bit bearish, right? Which is probably why you have this big, red candle here. CleanSpark, a little bit sideways, leaning bullish. Mara, leaning bullish, right? Bitfarms, equivocal. CIFR, leaning bullish. IREN, down. You have a short-term downtrend, and it's trying to find a higher low. And when I was trying to look for a higher low, there are a few possibilities. One possibility, and it was trying to find support there for a very long time, for weeks, which is going to be at the weekly Ichimoku cloud, right? You're basically having this Super Ichi cloud. You're basically having this Super Ichi cloud here serve as support, and then broke underneath of it because the trend is trending a little bit down, unfortunately. Losing a lot of wellish momentum over here too. But you already knew that was probably going to happen because price just went too far, too fast, and was hitting a lot of very important resistance. Up here, it was hitting like, a very, very important Fibonacci resistance level of 0.5. Get rejected. Even want to touch the arc up here, got rejected. Came back down, try to find support here at the 0.382. There's a potential for it to find support, but it just didn't. Where's the next level is going to go? It's going to gravitate towards this level over here, right? This wick over here, which is anywhere around like 9.5, somewhere around there, because you do have a little history over here at this level. Could this be as low as it goes? Possible. I don't like the fact that the candle doesn't have much of a wick, though. That's not generally like a bottoming kind of behavior here if it doesn't have a little bit of a wick. If we end up closing Friday with a wick, yeah, I'll be a lot more bullish on IREN. When price is up here, I was basically saying it's not a buy, it's a hold for me. as price keeps going down further, if it ends up hitting $8, and I'm not sure if it's going to, I think $8 probably going to be the absolute low where it hits. I should take that back. I think 7.5 is going to be the lowest level it's going to end up hitting, if it ends up doing that. But I would not be surprised if it finds support right here and it just kind of do a little bit of wick and just bounce up from here, because it's still a very, very nice bull trend. It's simply trying to find a higher low. How low is that higher low going to be? I don't know. Nobody knows. All I can say is that if you look at the, let me see here. Yeah, if you look at the Ichimoku, I can see why, it might end up being a wick, and it might just end up bouncing above the kitchen over here, the red line over here, around 9.65. I can see that being the bottom before going up higher. I don't think it necessarily has to go down a lot further. But if it does, I might be looking into buying. It doesn't matter to me. Like, my average is like in the 4s and 5s. Like, I don't care. This is a bull trend. I'm just holding for the bull trend. I ride the cycle. I don't try to trade in and out of these moves. But when price got up here, I was like, yeah, it's resistance. I probably should trade more, but I don't. It's just too stressful. So ride the cycle is what I'm doing. IREN over Bitcoin plummeted 3 weeks in a row after going parabolic here for like 2 or 3 months, right? Looking like you have bearish crossover here. Overall, though, it's still a higher low. It still looks like it wants to continue to outperform Bitcoin. It's just forming a little bit higher low over here, although it looks very vicious. WULF. Oh, sorry. Let me go back to IREN. Let me talk about something positive. What happens if it breaks back above the Fibonacci level? It breaks back above these arcs up here. Then you might talk about like 21, 22. Above 21, 22, you might be talking about arc over here around 40. Above that, you're talking about 60. Above that, you're talking about maybe like the 100s, 1-teens, Why are things just not pushing up higher? When price is over here, I actually thought that it could pull an IREN. It just can't end up. I actually thought that IREN was going to pull a CleanSpark. It just ended up going sideways over here. Ended up not doing that. Instead of correcting it through time, ended up correcting through price down here a little bit, which is not a bad thing. I sometimes think that when things correct through price, that actually means that the whales want to like just accumulate, just to shake off hands and just want to push up higher. So I'm actually not that bearish on IREN. I actually think that's getting close. It might be another $1.50 until it really trying to find a bottom, but I can potentially see it find a bottom over here. And some of the targets like 22, 40s, 60, and like the 1-teens, those are some pretty crazy target to think about. But if we're able to work through all of those resistance, then you're talking about that. I also was not particularly bullish on TeraWulf either. When things were hitting resistance on the GAN here at the arc, I really thought that it's probably going to end up coming back down. I just don't know whether or not it's going to correct through sideways for time or for price. Looks like it wants to do price. So this week has a pretty vicious candle. It went all the way from like 5.8 all the way down to like 4.3, which is not a small move. You have a little bit of a bearish cross here on the trend oscillator, but again, it could just end up oscillating here, maybe go down a little bit when price kind of goes sideways here a little bit. We're getting a little bit closer to the weekly Tenkan Kijun as support down here, so that's not a bad thing. But still, if you look at the monthly, I still think that things are still a little bit overextended, away from the Tenkan. Down here, Tenkan's already down like 3.7, it's a little bit too far out. And if you also, let me turn off the GAN here, if you also look at the Bollinger Band, I still think that Terra was still way outside upper Bollinger Band. Maybe it just end up closing above the upper Bollinger Band this month and go sideways for the next month when the Bollinger Band continues to expand. Maybe. But I think it's just a little bit too overextended, that's all. So I'm not bearish on WULF, I just think it's a hold. Again, my cost average is like in the 2, so I don't really care. I'm just letting it ride. The WULF over Bitcoin chart looks pretty bullish. Looks a little bit like a rounded bottom or Adam and Eve kind of thing going on, and looks like it wants to break higher. Looks like the trend oscillator is still up, and if you also look at the whale indicator for WULF, there's still plenty of whales in. There's not much retail, so I think that you might end up going sideways here a little bit longer before pushing up. But WULF actually doesn't look bad. I just thought there was a hold whenever things are just a little bit too far extended. Right now, it's still a little bit overextended, but that's what the bull trend does. Would you buy something like this when things are overextended? I don't like to. That's why I like to catch falling knives. But I'm done catching falling knives, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, but Wolf over Bitcoin chart doesn't look bad. It looks like it's like around bottom with Adam and Eve. It looks like it wants to break out above, but it just simply hasn't done that yet. So yeah, we'll see what it does. Bitdeer. I've been asked about these like miners, the smaller miners. And I don't really have a whole heck of a lot of updates for Bitdeer. I guess it's still about the tank indication on the monthly. It still looks bullish. I think it can still come back down to like the 8.8, 8.7s to backtest this level, but it doesn't have to. Increasing whales. There's a very nice looking monthly wave trend oscillator bullishness here. So I don't know. I mean, like I think it's still a pretty good looking chart. If I want to buy another miner, I think this one might be one of the ones that I'd be interested in buying. The problem though is we did end up hitting a little bit of a top, and it just simply has to kind of correct sideways here a little bit. Whales momentum initially jumped up, but now it's just consolidating sideways, working things out. And a lot of whales kind of getting bored. Some of the retail started coming in. I don't know. Like all I have to say is it does look like a bull flag overall, but it does look like it wants to trend perhaps a little bit longer. So I'm still probably not going to want to buy, maybe unless if things go back down to like $8, that might be a little bit more interesting, right? But right now it looks like it's just kind of broke above the cloud and it's just back tested the cloud. So I cannot be that I cannot be that bearish on this chart. If I was holding, I would just keep holding. But I probably wouldn't buy now because I have other miners. If I was to buy one, I think this is not a bad chart to buy. I might start a position right around here, but I might be really interested if it breaks underneath the cloud and hit like some of the top level here around like $8, or it wicks down, hit the $8 area. That would be very tempting. Looking at the Bollinger Band on the weekly, expanded, but it's going sideways. Initially it was like way outside, now it's closing back inside. No longer overextended, which is one part of the reason why I say like, I might be interested if I was going to, but I'm not. And also going to blow my support band is way above that. You see what I'm saying? Like I can totally see it coming back down to back test like the lower 8s level before going up higher. I can totally see that. But that's Bitdeer. Oh yeah, I have the little bit of a GAN here to show you like Bitdeer hit resistance where you expected to hit, at a Fibonacci level at the 0.786, and also hit the arc, got rejected, came back down, actually backtested the angle almost perfectly right there. So what do I think Bitdeer is going to do? Maybe consolidate sideways here a little bit and then push above, but it might bore you while it's doing that for another like few weeks or so. It's possible. But anyway, that is Bitdeer. BTBT. I'm going to talk about a few more and then I'm going to end the show. BTBT had a bearish candle here. Why is that? Well, you're hitting a very important resistance zone over here. Things got rejected over here. Things got support over here. Things went sideways over here. This is a very, very important zone. I don't expect it to just kind of break out above, but it does look like a very, very nice like double bottom kind of thing. It does look like eventually it wants to until it finds a little bit of a higher low, which nobody knows when the higher low, how low is the higher low going to be? Nobody knows. Could it be where it is right now with 3.5? Could go down to like $3. I totally see it going down to $3. That's entirely possible. And the wave trend oscillator also seemed to point down a little bit. You're losing some whalish momentum here. So yeah, I can totally see it going down to $3. Is it going to? I don't know. Looking at weekly Ichimoku, can it go down to $3? Yeah, it can. That's like close to the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud over here. It's already pierced back inside the cloud. It can go down a little bit further and just hit like the $3.1 to $3 zone over here, and that would still be a higher low for some bullish continuation moving forward, right? But things right now just end up kind of getting stuck inside the cloud here before pushing up again. So Bitdigital doesn't look bad. I think simply it's just needed to cool down here, try to find a higher low before pushing up again, because you can't just have the weekly candles just close 4 weeks outside the upper Bollinger Band in a row and not have a big giant cool down period like this. If you're worried that it was closing above the upper Bollinger Band over here, not buy, and you end up saying, oh crap, I better catch up, I better buy here, that's when you get punished. Unfortunate. You also have a little bit of a bearish crossover here, but again, like it doesn't have to always be bearish, because look over here, during this run over here, like it have a little bit of a bearish cross, but it just reverses very quickly. You know, even if you have a little bit of bearish crossover, you can still have like another push up a lot higher. So I'm not really that scared by this, but it does look like the trend is exhausting, which is why I'm showing you here in a bullish band anyway. So that's why I wouldn't have bought up here around like the $4 zone. I would not have bought up there, and I didn't. Where would I buy BTBT? I'm not sure if I would, but if it goes down to like 3.1, I might be tempted. I'm not sure it would either. It's going to want to do its own thing. Another reason why I'm relatively bullish on BTBT, I mean, it's been stuck in a range over here, right? But you had a bullish cross over here. So who knows, maybe bullish cross get exhausted quicker, or it ends up, you know, just go up a lot higher. So far, it doesn't look like the bullish cross look like it's exhausting. It looks like it wants to keep just pointing up. So we'll see. Maybe this is going to be the next couple months where we break above this very important resistance zone over here and just going to end up going a little lot higher. Maybe Welsh momentum is due here on the monthly, right? So BTBT is not a bad looking chart. Going back to the weekly here, you know, again, I was showing you the Bollinger Band. It's about the Bollinger Support Band. Like, there's really nothing really bearish about this chart, but I can totally see price can back test the Bollinger Support Band. And by the way, by the time when it does, it might be around 3 to 3.1, somewhere around there. So yeah, if it hits that level, great. If it doesn't, I'm just gonna let it go. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. The GAN here is basically showing, yeah, that's another thing over here. It's got a pretty important resistance level here too, that it hit here on the horizontal, right? Up above, there's also a very important resistance level here around $5, which it keeps on getting rejected at, and it keeps on getting supported at. You know, so $5 to current price around $4 is a pretty important resistance zone. Until you break above these two zones, you cannot really talk about $8. You cannot really talk about 12 to 15. You cannot talk about 20, and you cannot talk about the 30s. You definitely cannot talk about $60. Those are targets that you don't talk about until you break the current resistance levels down here, because I'm not crazy. HUD 8. HUD 8, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that we're just going to keep going up? Do you guys think that it's not going to get up, you know, all trend exhausted? Do you guys not think that this trend wave oscillator here pointing downwards here a little bit is going to mean that the trend is starting to get a little bit exhausted over here? Do you not think that the Bollinger Band expansion with price closing above the upper Bollinger Band for 6 weeks in a row is going to end up getting punished? Well, it is getting punished now. Am I still thinking that this is a bullish stock? Yes, because the wells are still in. Is trying to find a higher low. Where's that higher low going to be? Could this be it? That's possible, right? Why is it possible? Because this is a pretty important level, you know, that's shown over here, right? Could it be possible? Yes, because if you look at my GAN chart, you're hitting, or the Fibonacci level here too, you're basically hitting the 0.136 level back over here, you know? So this could be just a little bit of a back test over here before consolidation, before going up again, you know? But it's simply getting way overextended. It simply just needed to correct. How far does it go? Let's see. The current price is one possibility, which is actually getting pretty close to the top of the Ichimoku cloud. You did end up finding support here on a weekly Tenkan. Could it go down here to like 13.5? Could go down further to like 12.3 zone? Possible. Does it have to? Not necessarily. I do think that it's a little bit worrisome. Anyway, I wouldn't enter HUD over here. I don't like to chase, and this move over here is probably going to end up taking time to digest. So I probably won't enter here. I think it's probably going to end up going sideways or maybe even down to kind of correct some sentiment over here before going up further, because HUD has just been beasting over like the last 3 to 4 months. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I think it needs to cool down. It's doing that right now. So another way to look at the HUD chart, you can look at the Super Ichi again, same thing. We're finding some support zone over here. Could it go down to even down further to like 11.5? Possible, but I'm not sure. Like, honestly, if you ask me how low HUD is going to go, I'll give you top 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1, it breaks down into the cloud and goes to the bottom of the cloud over here around 12.3. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two, it might wick down to this top of the cloud over here, but I think this is it for the correction, but it might end up going sideways here for a little bit longer before going up. Those are my two scenarios. You can pick one you like, or you can pick a third scenario if you like, but that's kind of what I'm seeing for HUD 8. I don't have much to say about CORZ. It just looks like a bullish chart to me. And it just looks like it's consolidating. It's way above the weekly Tenkan. It might go sideways a little bit longer. Or come back down to maybe like 8.3 and back test the Tenkan. Because that would be a healthy thing for it to do. But right now, yeah, it looks like a bullish chart. Trying to find a higher low. You know, I don't have anything else to say. I don't have a position in that. RIOT. My goodness. Stuck in the range. Initially, I thought it was going to end up breaking above the Tenkan here, but it ends up breaking down underneath. I thought the Tenkan around 10.95 was going to potentially be be support zone over there. But it ends up not being that. It ends up just breaking down underneath here below. Who knows? The week is not over. Maybe we bounce back to close to a week about 10.95. And this weekly bullishness can potentially work out. And maybe we have a little bit more whales coming back in here for this week. Who knows? Was it surprising that price got rejected around 13? No. You have resistance levels there. So I think I was a little bit surprised that it just kind of broke down through the Tenkan just like that. Who knows? The week is not over, and even if it closed below, maybe the next week we end up bouncing back above. Maybe just a little bit of a false breakdown. Who knows? I do like this look because it's simply coming back down to back test the bull market support band. I do like this look because it simply got rejected from the upper Bollinger Band, and immediately the next place gravitates to us back to the Bollinger Support Band and finding support there so far. If you're finding support there in the Bollinger Support Band, if you're above on the upper part of the Bollinger Support Band, and if the Bollinger Band is squeezing, which means that a big move is coming within the next few weeks, I find that to be favorable. In terms of, I think that RIOT has a chance over the next few weeks to backtest the weekly Ichimoku cloud, maybe even break through it, break into it, maybe bounce around here a little bit before going through the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It's still range bound though, right? The top power range is going to be around like anywhere from 18 to 20. I mean, it could gravitate up to 18 to 20, and that would just still be stuck in a range here for like 2 years, which is just an insane thing to think about. Oh man, RIOT. Do I think a bigger move is coming? I think so. Which way if I think it's going to go, it's probably going to hit the top of the cloud around 14 over the next few weeks. My best guess. Does it break through the first time? Probably not. Probably come back down, back test some stuff here around like 12.8. Maybe even go sideways a little bit. Maybe even break down here a little bit before going up again. But I do think that it might end up challenging the cloud here relatively soon over the next few weeks, is my best guess. Looking at the Gann chart I have drawn, I mean, simply it's just been bouncing very weakly from this arc over here. Could it backtest the arc down here around $10? Possible. I'm not seeing it. I think it's probably going to gain pretty good support here at the Bollinger Support Band where price is currently at right now. It might end up going sideways here for another few weeks until the end of this convergence over here before breaking out above. But you're still underneath a lot of resistance over here. 13.6 arc over here. And then after that, you're talking about other resistances. So RIOT just has more to work against it so far. But I can potentially see some bullish momentum coming into it. HIVE. Do I have much to say about HIVE? I think HIVE is very similar to HUT in the sense that it's just simply way overextended outside the upper Bollinger Band, and it's just needed to cool down. But things are looking more bullish overall. It could come all the way back down to like $3. That would not surprise me at all. To form a little bit higher low before going up, that would not surprise me a little bit at all. Does it have to do that? No. It did end up getting rejected here at Ichimoku Cloud though, right? So minimally maybe around 3.5 to 3.3 range might be the support zone. It might end up just kind of going sideways over here, push up. Or it could potentially go down to like $3. That's also, entirely possible. But yeah, I'm not entering Hive. I think that there's some potential here, but just like Rise is underneath a weekly Ichimoku cloud, so it's a little bit uncertain. And you know, on the higher time frame is still uncertain because you haven't had that bullish cross here on the Tenkan and Kijun. So yeah, I probably won't enter Hive. I think that's probably going to be it. I don't want to talk like MIGI. Some people ask me about MIGI. I think it's still like bearish, right? It does look like the way that like Tesla would have looked before it broke out, but like I just think that currently is underneath resistance. You know, it's just been trending sideways. I don't know. It's not picking up momentum. If I enter it, I think I'll be potentially still catching a falling knife, so I won't enter it. If you look at Annie, somebody asked me about Annie, same thing. You know, it's underneath the monthly Tenkan, underneath the Kijun. There's no bullish cross. There's no whalish momentum at all, and there's no bullish cross here on the wave trend oscillator. On the weekly, it also doesn't really look anything particularly impressive either. It's just underneath the Tenkan. It just keeps getting rejected. You know, even though on the weekly it might be a little bit of hope here on the wave trend, but it's a little bit flat. You know. So yeah, I spent about an hour talking about all the miners. I probably should have just done a live stream if I was going to do this, but hey, I just want to do a recording today. All right, so that's what I think. And right now, Bitcoin is getting back close to 66,000. You know. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.